his granddaughter because and he didn't look that old. I didn't ask him his age, but he didn't look that old to have an adult granddaughter. But yeah, I guess that's highly in his 70s and had an adult grandchild, early 70s, late 60s even. But anyway, he was he leaned back, dozed off, and next thing you know, I kind of dozed off too, and then we were being told that we were landing in Cleveland. Cleveland was an interesting city. I didn't see any of it, really. Just airport, drove through it on I-90 heading to Erie. I saw the some of the stadiums that surround downtown Cleveland, but that's about it. I don't know anything about Cleveland. I know I have a sibling. My sister was born in Columbus, Ohio, but that's about any case. Just, you never know who you might meet. Just strike up a conversation with them. Before you watch your movies and before you get into your laptop or your tablet, just, say hi to the person who you're sitting next to. You might find that they're more interesting to talk to than watching your tablet or computer. Just saying. I probably would have talked the entire flight to that. Anyway, today is the 101st anniversary of the birth of one Hedwig Eva Marie Keisler. Now, most of us probably recognize the name Hedy Lamarr, but we don't recognize her birth name of Hedwig Eva Marie Keisler. Now, I always thought Hedwig was a male name. Now, she was born in Vienna, Austria-Hungary, back in 1914. And one of the interesting things about Hedy Lamarr is that she just wasn't a beautiful woman, prime, and a famous actress, but she was also a very brilliant woman and a noted inventor. At the beginning of, here's something from Wikipedia that I pulled for you. At the beginning of World War II, intent on aiding the Allied war effort, Lamarr identified jamming of Allied radio communications by the Axis as a particular problem, and with composer George Antheil, Anthiel, developed spread spectrum and frequency hopping technology to defeat it. Though the U.S. Navy did not adopt the technology until the 60s, the principles of her work are now incorporated into modern Wi-Fi, CDMA technology, and Bluetooth technology. And this work led to her being inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame back in 2014. Now, I want to preface this by saying, do we know any female actors today whose hobby basically is inventing technology that can be used for decades to come? We have people that just really don't have any talent out there, and we call them actresses and actors, and what they really are is celebrities. Now, Hedy Lamarr was not a celebrity, not by today's standards. She was an actress, yes. She was a famous actress, yes. She was a very prolific actress. She made dozens and dozens of movies in her career. Well, hey, typical. I don't know I don't know how. But that was normal. Today, people don't tend to, the younger set doesn't tend to get married that often. But they still, get married and divorced and married and divorced. How would you like to be the last guy? I know it. I know what it is. Guys have these egos. Well, I can see. I can see that. How do you? How if you're if you're courting Hedy Lamarr, who else was Elizabeth Taylor, also married numerous times. So if you're the last guy or the next husband to be, and you're courting this particular person who's married umpteen times before you came along, is it male ego? I mean, is it really male ego that allows you to proceed to conquer this woman? Hey, is it? Hey, Hetty, I know all those other men couldn't satisfy you, but wait till you get a load of me, baby. We're going to be married forever. I'm the last man that you'll ever be with because I'm going to... And then 3 years later, you get divorced. I don't understand... Me personally, if I were to run across a lady that was married 5 or 6 times previous, I'd walk the other way because I wouldn't want to be the next one, on her notch. Another one bites the dust type of thing. No, thank you. Look, if you can't, I'm not saying that you can't make a mistake or two, but you start getting past 3, there's a real problem, and you need to really think about what you're doing and really analyze yourself because that's 3 strikes. I mean, you really have to start thinking about what is it about yourself that is the problem? Not because I'm sure that Hetty and all these other people who were married multiple times, they didn't look at themselves and say, well, there's something I need to fix about me, or because I keep entering into these types of relationships work. No, they're probably always thinking, it's them. I just can't find the right guy because, they're all jerks. Men are all jerks. Or to the guys who's been married so many times, all the women, they're all biddies, I'm just saying when you get to number 3 failure, you really need to think out what it is about yourself. And that's always good to do anyway. It's always good to have a introspective look at oneself from time to time to see where you are, measure yourself. We'd be a lot better off if we had politicians that did that. We'd be a lot better off if we actually had talented people like Hedy Lamarr running the country, who had multiple interests and who were smart and brilliant and learned and actually could get things done and do things and saw where the problems were and then sought out how to fix those problems. Not blame somebody else for the problem, but to go to work to fix the problem. Now notice, they didn't blame anybody for having jamming technology. They set out for a way to overcome that jamming technology of the day. I don't know what today would we have if we were in the middle of a battle or something like that, and all of a sudden they came out, the enemy came out with this new technology to jam our radio signal. I believe that this administration would be blaming everybody else around them instead of looking at the problem, and saying, "Okay, how can we fix it?" No, they'd be out there saying, "Yeah, no, it's their problem. It's Bush's fault because they didn't come up with something beforehand, and it's that country's fault because they didn't share the technology, or it's that country's fault because they didn't." They wouldn't be focusing on solving the problem. They'd be focusing on blaming others. This is what this administration has done since day one. They haven't focused on solving any problems. All they've done is they've done 2 things. They focused on blaming the previous administration or blaming everybody else for the problem, and then going ahead and adding on to the problem by creating these policies that they know never worked in the past. You cannot tell me that they say, well, hey, this policy was so great in the past, so we're going to do it again. None of it's ever worked. But they have this erudite, arrogant attitude that says, well, it didn't work before because they were the wrong people. They were too stupid back then to be able to make this work. Now, I want you leftists need to think about this, especially you older ones, because this current crop, this younger generation of liberals are telling you that you were too damn stupid to make things work. Because they're the ones that we've been waiting for all this time, the smart ones, because you were too stupid to make all these liberal programs work in the past. That's basically what they're telling you. And, when I point that out to, when I actually began pointing that out to a couple of weeks ago to some of the older liberals, I said, none of these programs have ever worked. None of them. And they seem to think that they're smarter than everybody else today. And what they're telling you is that you and your generation were too stupid to make this work. And I had this one older lady look at me and say, "Oh my God, you're right." She got it. She was insulted. She was insulted. Not by me. I was just pointing out the truth to her, because people don't think about this kind of stuff. And this is what the left has always done. They always think they're smarter than everybody else, and that the only reason why their programs, the way they say that they should work, have not worked the way they say they should work is because stupid people were in charge of them before. Well, if a program is going to work, if a policy is going to work, it shouldn't be that complicated where only the smartest, highest IQ people can actually do it. Because if only the smartest, highest IQ people can actually administer it, then it cannot be spread out amongst the people who are just average. It's never going to work. And this is the problem with liberalism. Because they try to think so highbrow, like they're so intelligent, that they try to come up with these things that are just too complicated for the average person to understand, that they go ahead and they try to implement it. Well, the problem is that they cannot implement fully into the general population because it's too complicated, too erudite, and everybody else out there just has an average intelligence. So they're not going to get it. So therefore, the policy cannot work. It is doomed to fail before it even starts. Just based on that. Just based on the fact that they think that they're smarter than everybody else. That's when a policy is going to fail. Now, sure, you can go ahead and have, in some areas, some things are kind of complicated. There may be simple solutions to a lot of stuff, and there may be complicated solutions to a lot of stuff. But there's never really an easy solution to problems. But you complicate it when you do make something more complicated than it needs to be. And you definitely complicate things when you decide that you're smarter than everybody else. It's great to have a brilliant idea and then to go about, working on that brilliant idea. But once you look, Thomas Edison, telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, telephone inventor. Thomas Edison, they basically bringing electricity to the masses, the light bulb inventor. They took something that is rather complicated, because technology for electricity and getting a light bulb to work and getting signal to go through a wire from one place to another is not exactly simplistic. Is rather complicated, which is why it took them so long to become successes at getting a successful invention that worked in those various fields. But they didn't issue and put out this type of technology based on some extremely complicated, highbrow, we're smarter than everybody else type of attitude and policy, because it never would have went anywhere. They simplified it as much as they possibly could, so that even the lowest, the least intelligent of us could operate the systems that they wanted the masses to have. So it was very simple. The light bulb was put in a package that you screwed in to an outlet, and then you flick the switch. How simple is that? Telephone, when it first came out, what you did is you picked it up and you rang the operator and you told the operator who you wanted to call, and they plugged you in. How simplistic is that? It wasn't this overly complicated stuff. That stuff never works, never will work. We'll be right back.